All right, Nick, Atlanta Falcons coming fresh off of their bye. A lot of things going on in the world of their quarterback situation. Desmond Ridder has been named the starter, but there's some other big moves, especially in the quarterback situation, Nick, that we want to talk about. And you have the story on that, and we'll get that to just a moment. But Falcons fans, with all of this quarterback movement going on, is Desmond Ridder the future, the franchise? And speaking of franchise quarterbacks, who has been your favorite franchise quarterback in Atlanta Falcons history? There's a couple good options that come to mind, but let us know who's been your favorite quarterback ever to run the helm of the Falcons. Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what is the other QB news for the Falcons?
Yeah, so this was reported by Ian Rappaport and a bunch of other people have followed up on it now. It's been pretty much verified that according to Rappaport, that Marcus Mariota is getting his knee checked out and is likely headed to injured reserve. They also added former Tennessee Titan Logan Whiteside to back up Ridder as well. So those are the other two kind of smaller moves. Mariota is likely done for the year playing. He will not be Ridder's backup. They brought in Logan Whiteside, who was with Arthur Smith at Tennessee at a point in time to back up Ridder in that situation. And Mize, this is a really smart move, moving Marcus Mariota to injured reserve, because obviously he's battling through a knee injury. We're not saying he's not, but he was obviously healthy enough to play because he played before the bye the entire season, right? He could have played. The Atlanta Falcons understand something, right? And one of the things when it comes to building a quality team, it's not just the X's and O's, as much as that's a big part of it. It's understanding the dollars and it's understanding the person, the people behind it. I'm going to start with the dollars first. So obviously the Atlanta Falcons are looking to make big moves in the offseason next year. They have an amazing amount of cap space. They're projected to have, according to Over the Cap, $72 million plus in cap space next year. But Marcus Mariota actually has a $12 million cap hit next year. Obviously, they don't feel like Mariota is their guy. They're going with Ridder. So what does that mean? They're setting up to cut Mariota in the offseason. But if he's hurt, so if he potentially is still hurt from this knee injury, if it lingers, or if he gets hurt and it gets worse, they could not cut him in the offseason. There's a chance he would have to sit on their books much longer. And again, that would hurt their potential to make a big move in free agency or potential trade. So smart move, moving Mariota to IR, making sure he A, gets healthy, and B, doesn't re-injure himself playing in games late in the season. The number two move the number two part of it, I think this was a good move, was the human side of it, right? Because you don't want Ridder to look over his shoulder. Mario is an experienced quarterback. He's won a playoff game, right? He's been around the block. You don't want Ridder to have to be wondering after every bad throw or bad series or bad drive, he's about to get yanked. Arthur Smith's a very tough coach. There's potential for that kind of maybe dynamic from Ridder going on. By getting rid of Mariota, getting him out of, the potential threat of taking Ridder's job, you give Ridder a really good environment to just focus on getting better and driving the offense, as Arthur Smith likes to say. Miles, what do you think? I think this is a really smart move. I think going with Ridder is a smart move, but I think moving Mariota to IR is an even smarter move. What do you think about these?
Yeah, I like it, Nick, and it kind of reminds me of beginning of this season, the Jimmy G Trey Lance scenario, where Jimmy G was like completely removed from practice, and they wanted to know, Trey Lance, this is your team, go out there. Obviously, that situation has evolved three different ways, and it's completely different from where it is now. That has nothing to do with the Falcon situation, but the fact in the beginning, I think good coaches will do that, and they understand, like what you're saying, the human element of things. Ridder doesn't want to be like, oh, wait, if I screw up, if I throw a pick, is, Mariota going to come in, take my job? So, taking him out of the picture, as how the 49ers took Jimmy G out of the picture early on in the season for Trey Lance, it's a good move. I like the move of bringing in Woodside, a guy who's familiar with Arthur Smith's scheme and formerly on the team with him at Tennessee. Obviously, they have a somewhat of a relationship, so that's a good move there because he's another guy that can help Ridder get through this process, ask him any questions if he's familiar with Smith's scheme. So that looks good. But Nick, there's also something I read. It's an article by Michael Rothstein over at ESPN, talking about not only these IR moves and how good that is, but also Smith coming out and saying that this was a performance-based move. And I like that because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like Mariota is in the situation that you said he is in, purely because they don't want to have to deal with any lingering injuries due to an off-season cut. They want to get him healthy. They want to be able to move on from him with no strings attached, and that's the best scenario for everybody. And also, it lets you know that they are going with Ridder because he has proved himself in practice, in training camp, all throughout the season, that he is ready to go ahead and go and take the helm of this offense, Nick.
Yeah, 100% agree there. I think Ritter, I mean, I don't know how good he's looking in practice. Obviously, we're not there. But at this point, I don't think he can be worse than Mariota. Mariota has really struggled over the last month or so after he kind of got off to a decent start for the season. But I will say this, when it says, hey, it's a performance-based move. To be fair, though, if he came out and said publicly, yeah, we're benching Mariota, putting him on IR because we want to cut him in the offseason, that's probably grounds for a lawsuit. So there may be a little bit of that
Yeah.
gamesmanship going on there. But I do think he has been waiting for Ritter to develop because Arthur Smith, we've talked about it a bunch, has been very critical at times of Ritter and people who says, when should Ritter play? It's like, hey, no, he's not ready. He's not ready at all. We're not ready to play him. We're sticking with Marcus Mariota. And now he's flipped the switch 180 degrees. So I think there actually has been, at least in Arthur Smith's eyes, a different performance boost from Ritter's perspective, enough to make that decision easier. I don't know if he's actually surpassed Mariota or if he's just gotten close enough. Hopefully he's surpassed him because this is a Falcons team that still has a chance to win that division. They've got a lot of opportunities with their schedule down the stretch. So if Ridder can play well, they could really make a run at this thing.
Yeah, Nick. And quick, before we go, the last thing I want to touch on, talk about schedule, talk about playoffs, talk about the division. What a game for Ridder to come in New Orleans against the Saints. What a debut to the NFL. A huge division rivalry. So if he can get a win in New Orleans against this Saints team that is a huge rival of the Atlanta Falcons, he's got to feel good. So this could be a really, really big confidence builder for Ridder moving forward. So I really like that aspect of everything as well.